All right, y'all. We are back to discuss Love and Marriage DC Season 2, Episode 4. Now, I got to go ahead and tell y'all, I am actually thoroughly enjoying this season. I don't know what it is about this show, but it reminds me of old school reality TV. And I cannot really tell you like what it is except that it just feels very like local neighborhood, small group of friends who are getting to know each other. There's something about it that's just really intriguing to me. And the way that the drama is unfolding, I feel like it's happening in a natural way, a natural progressive way. So I'm excited to see where things shake out for the season. We also had a moment tonight that reminded me of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I will tell you about it when we get to it, but if you've seen the episode, you might be able to figure out what I'm talking about. But it just harkened back to that type of moment. And again, there's something I like about it. I feel like this show, for me, doesn't feel tainted by some of the tropes that we've been seeing on reality TV here lately. With scandals about people withholding storylines and story. And, granted, we always know that everyone isn't giving us everything, but for the most part, I feel like issues are being discussed. Serious issues are being discussed. And I think that's also what makes this show good. So for me, I'm going to rate this episode. I'm going to give it a 9, actually, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed where it was going. So let's get into it. You guys let me know in the chatterization what you would rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it. So let's dive in. We start off the episode. Clifton and Joy have moved into their new home on the water. In the back of my mind, y'all, if I figured it out, I wouldn't say anything. But I was trying to figure out, where is this body of water? Okay, because I absolutely love the location of their home. It is definitely something that I would actually love for myself. So I enjoyed actually seeing it, and I would love to explore that a bit more as we see more of their story develop. It's interesting to see, their taste preferences versus some of the other cast members on this show. What I think is cool about Joy and Clifton, or at least Joy in specific so far, is she seems like a regular kind of round the way girl. And when I say regular, I don't mean that in a bad way, just very casual. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like she's getting glammed for the TV or anything like that. We love glam on some people, but we also love that. I mean, she's put together, definitely, but you just don't get the impression that she's trying extra hard for anything. It doesn't seem like that's her personality anyway. So I kind of enjoy where she's at with that. They FaceTime Orena, and show her a little bit of the home. They talk a little bit about, the non-wedding that Joy does not want to have, as well as the idea that Joy would prefer to firmly plant her feet in where they are in their move process before she thinks about having a child. It seems to me as though Joy is a bit in the driver's seat when it comes to the pacing of their relationship, or maybe she is trying to assert her boundaries for the pace of the relationship, because it does feel like he would be more full steam ahead, marriage and family, but she's like, hold on, let me catch my breath, which is not a bad thing, because you have to be honest about how you feel about certain things with regards to your partner. So there's that. Um Quick is making breakfast for Ashley. She comes down and she's still recovering from the surprise birthday party that she already knew about. She's thankful. She talked to Alicia, but she's still a little bit pissed at Quick because, he made the decision to not tell her about Alicia's accident where she totaled her car, and she was kind of banged up in that situation. And they have a really positive conversation about it, and she ultimately kind of forgives him, I think, but she still would have preferred to know, and I think I would have preferred to know as well. And I think, again, you just have to know your spouse. But I also think, too, I understand where Quick was coming from in the sense of I want her to have a good birthday party, and she is my priority. So I'm going to ensure that she has a great time, but also not necessarily realizing that for Ashley, Alicia, too, is a priority. So I do get that tension. I do get it. Um, They talk about, everybody being upset about the Alicia thing except for Jamie. And they mentioned that Jamie was, a little wasted. Okay. So, okay. I mean, maybe he was. I don't really know. I mean, I couldn't really, yeah, looking back on it, maybe he was a little nice. You know what I'm saying? Because he was definitely free with his words and he was standing up and everything. So, he was definitely animated. But they, both Ashley and Quick are triggered because Jamie said that Lil Jamie was crying out for attention and that he was a bum. All right. Ashley does make the careful distinction that there is a difference between somebody who is just looking for attention, but there's also a shift in the idea of someone crying out for attention because they are crying out for help. And I think that is the thing that needs to be added when someone says they're looking for attention. Well, they could be looking for attention to get help. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you have to look at it from that perspective. And I don't think that there's anything. I'm glad to see Quick and Ashley sharing their feelings, their true feelings about the interaction between Jamie and little Jamie, because I think it makes for a better show than everybody just being really politically correct and just sort of saying, well, that's their kids. I'm not going to have any, opinion about it. No, these are to me the little nuances that make this show so great to me because it doesn't feel like anyone is really holding anything back, despite the fact that these are a close group of friends. We talked more about Ashley having been in the situation where she's had to, cry out for help before as well, and her wanting to take her own life at various points. And we'll touch more on that in the conversation with the double date. But we'll also learn that Ashley is suffering from insomnia, which I don't know if we gotten that before, but I felt like that was pretty interesting to note. Insomnia is something that really, honestly, truly scares me. There is something about the idea, like I used to be able to get like the best sleep. And I feel like as I've gotten older, that has somewhat changed. So I have this fear that, it's going to come to a point where it's like, I can't fall asleep, or you're trying to fall asleep and you can't fall asleep. So I don't know. I think that the more projects I've taken on as I'm at this point in my life where I was saying to myself I was going to try to slow down, the more I've taken on, the more that's on my brain at nights. And I do feel like, personally, as if I'm being honest, I do feel like I am probably weighing myself down with as much as I am trying to accomplish all at one time. That's a whole video for another day, probably for my other channel. But I mean, that's the honest truth of it. So I definitely can relate to what she is saying with feeling so overwhelmed about the book. Speaking of book, y'all, I got a proof of my book. Okay. I'm super excited. I want to show y'all the cover so bad, but I'm going to wait for a special occasion to do that. So yeah, so it's exciting to me. But in moving on, I get where she's coming from about that level of exhaustion. So much so that sometimes you just feel like you just need to burst into tears. All right, so Arena meets up with Joy to make some tchotchkes, for the house. Y'all know what a tchotchke is? I feel like tchotchkes are like those ornamental things you put in your home that just kind of take up space and you got to dust a lot, you know what I'm saying? So they end up painting some paintings that I know they're not going to put on their walls or whatever. Joy thought they was going to go eat, but No, they're gonna paint some things and whatnot and talk. And so, Joy reveals she been ducking and dodging this wedding conversation. And Arena brings up, well, your name was brought up at Ashley's surprise birthday party. I cannot remember how it was, but I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. So she relays that, Shirelle mentioned and that well, we're blocked by Joy, and how Sherelle's husband, Black, had mentioned that, oh yeah, Joy must be upset because I used to date her friend, and then I stopped dating her friend and I started dating Shirelle. So at that point in time, Shirelle says no, he was messing with Shirelle while he was Joy's friend. Okay, while he was with Joy's friend. So basically, she is saying that Shirelle was the side piece. Well, Arena takes that and says, well, I guess that Shirelle was the side piece. But Arena says that's okay because, Jamie was my side piece. Yes, indeed. Oh, don't you know? He was my side piece. And, that's how we got together. And sometimes you get two sides and you make a whole meal out of that thing. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I like, I like it when somebody just simply says, yeah, that was my side, babe was my side piece at one point in time. Just be honest about it. I like those types of things. We ain't skating around the topic on this show, and I like it a lot. I thought that was pretty fun. All right, so Arena says, well, why don't you come to Joy's event? Good work, Arena. Good work. And Joy is like, no, to Sherelle's event. And Joy was like, I'm not coming. I do not like her man, so I'm not coming to her event. And I would even go so far as to use the word hate. 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 Now, y'all, hate is a strong word. I have some people that I feel like have done me wrong in my life, but I do not hate them. And so when I really look at the people that have really done me wrong, and the fact that I can look back at them and say, I do not hate them, it tells me that that is a heavy burden she is carrying still. Okay. And Arena says, well, I mean, what's the tea, sis? So, is it just that? And then so Joy goes on to say, well, no, it was basically it was a bad business deal. It wasn't just the fact that, oh, him and my ex BFF ended. She says there was a lot of miscommunication and selfish decisions that happened within the band, manipulation, lies, pretty much saying that the reason that the band broke up was because Joy and the drummer got into it, which was a lie. And apparently he is the one spreading that lie. So Arena says, well, girl, it's been 10 years. I mean, you don't think that maybe, just maybe after this whole decade that you don't want to, maybe at least try to at least have a cordial relationship with the wife who had nothing to do with the situation? You don't think that might, I mean, you could possibly do that? I mean, for little old me? I mean, I don't know. It's been a decade. And so Joy is like, well, girl, I just came to drink. I didn't actually come to paint. I thought we was gonna eat. Now you trying to get me to have a one-on-one ponderosa with this girl that when I hate her husband. So, Joy is funny to me. And so is Arena. Actually, I'm thoroughly enjoying this season thus far because I feel like everybody got something going on, and it's just it's comedy to me. And what I mean by comedy is it really don't seem that deep. Even though Joy hates this man with a burning passion that bubbles deep within her spirit and her soul, it still feels light. Does that make sense? Anyway, so Ashley and Arena and Quick and Jamie all meet up for a double date Ponderosa at the Funland, and they decide to go karting. All right, so they go karting, and bada bing, bada boom, it's time for dinner. Bada bing, bada boom, and Quick is saying, "Hey, we were triggered by the conversation that you had about your son, where you called him a bum and you said that he was crying out for attention. And Quick is basically like, I would never tell my son that. I would never talk to my son like that. I would never do that. I could not talk to him the way you talk to him. I would not do it. Why are you doing it? And it is just rubbing Arena and Jamie the wrong way, because they thought they just came to dance. Okay. They thought that they just came to go bumper car racing and have some dinner. This is payback for you, Arena, tricking Joy into thinking that y'all was gonna go out to eat. No, y'all was going to make some tchotchkes and you was gonna set her up on a one-on-one ponderosa with somebody whose husband she hates. This is your payback, okay? Payback. Anyway, a much more subdued Jamie does not understand why he is being attacked in this moment. He did not show up for this today. Where is all of this animosity coming from, especially from Quick? And Ashley has to basically tell them, listen, Linda, I've been there before in my life, okay? I have had issues and spaces and times where I've had the ideation that I wanted to end it all several times and ended up in the hospital. So that is why the conversations that you guys are having about your son have been so triggering for me, okay? And again, I like that they are having these conversations amongst each other as couples, because I feel like we don't see a lot of these conversations being had within the Black community. And so for me, it's super important, not only on that level, but then there's a little bit of entertainment value as well. So it's edutainment to a certain degree. Do you understand what I'm saying? I love it. I love the nuance of the conversation. I love the realness and the rawness of the conversation. But even as real and as raw as it felt, it did not feel heavy or dark to me. Does that make sense? I don't know how they managed to do it, but they do manage to do it. And again, so it enhances for me the viewing joy, because I feel like I'm along for the ride and we're having some important conversations, but they're not getting to, I mean, it's just don't feel that dark. And I know the subject matter is a little bit dark. It's actually a lot dark, but it doesn't feel heavy or weighed down or anything like that. So I enjoy it, because conversations of this nature could feel that way on television. You know what I'm saying? So it's a particular way that you have to have it, and I feel like they mastered it without probably even knowing that they were doing it. And it also could be because Jamie and Arena was not prepared for this. But anyway, so you know, Ashley also feels like Jamie is from a day and a time where, you know, parental figures, kind of didn't really have the time for these mental health type situations and things like that. It was get the work done. We don't have time to be depressed. You got to get it done. I kind of understand that logic, because to a certain degree, who has time? Listen, I understand feelings are what they are, and you need to have them and process them. But I also feel like I grew up in the same type of mentality where you have got to get this stuff done. It does not really, I mean, you can feel how you feel, but the rent is always due. Somebody need to hear that. The rent is always due. And so when you live with that mentality, it forces you sometimes to just say, I got to push my feelings to the background. But the thing about these feelings is, as we know nowadays, is those feelings don't ever always linger in the background for long. Those feelings will creep up on you when you least expect it and impact your life in various ways. Can I get an amen? Okay. So anyway, it's the day of Shirelle's costumed fitness event. Is it still Halloween in this time period? I don't know. And so Ashley comes driving up into the parking lot, into the middle of the session that's outside. For those of you guys who don't know, Shirelle has a company called The Good Thick, where she embraces, she talks about embracing body positivity, embracing the size and the body that you're in, but also focusing on health, wellness, and fitness and mental wellness to make for an overall better living or lifestyle for yourself, especially for women. Okay. So that for anybody who may be confused about her background in this area, that is where she comes from. All right. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, please follow her on Instagram because it will give you a better idea of exactly what it is she does. All right. Now, after Ashley came barreling through and they move inside, Winter arrives and she comes in shading Ashley's wig. And Arena is trying her hardest to ignore Winter. And Winter notices that the energy is weird. Now, um, Winter is sometimes the architect of her own chaos, okay? Because Winter also comes in with her own level of shade, which I don't mind. I don't mind it. No, I don't. Because it's usually funny, but not for everybody. Now, anyway, so class ends, all right, and everybody checks in with Alicia. She had a small concussion, bumps and bruises. The car was total, but she's here. Okay, thank the Lord. And so Shirelle mentions that, because her arm is in a sling, and she mentions that she was going to try to get her husband Black to, do a little popperization on that thingamajig and pop it back into place so that it can work properly. And so, speaking of your husband, girl, Arena says, I was trying to get Joy to come to your event. And Shirelle is like, why? I don't talk to this girl. She has me blocked. Why would I want her at my event? So Shirelle is also like, we never even had a conversation. So Arena reveals that, well, Joy doesn't have an issue with you. Or does she? She has an issue with your husband. She just hates him. Okay, that's it. And so Shirelle is like, well, Black doesn't have a problem with her Black being her husband, aka Alfred. And so Arena says, well, Joy said he was doing some shady business. Now, when I go back up to my notes, circa 2 or 3 paragraphs ago, I do recall Joy saying that it was a lot of selfish decisions that happened with the band, manipulation, lies, and pretty much saying that the reason the band broke up was because he was lying and saying that Joy and the drummer got into it, which was a lie. And he's the one who's spreading the lies. And that's why Joy hates him now. Now, this is important because going into the next episode, it seems as though Joy tells a different story when talking to Shirelle. So I just had to point that out because I was like, now, wait a minute now. Hold on. I don't think Arena lied, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, so Shirelle doubts that her man was doing any type of shady business. And Ashley is like, does Arena know that she's being messy? Or I don't know. I don't think she's helping the situation any. No, she's probably not helping the situation any. But yes, she is doing the good work. Okay. So Shirelle says, well, Black has worked hard to get the mumbo sauce, and that being the Go-Go Man. I think it was a Go-Go Man. I don't know. That being the band. Okay, making the band. Version 2. With Aubrey and Dawn and them. Anyway, and he's reached out to Joy a number of times. And so Arena says, well, it's a reason why Joy is saying no. And Shirelle has an issue with Arena bringing this information to her that Black might be shady. And Shirelle is like, well, now I guess I do have an issue with Joy. So meanwhile, Winter has come and she is ready to go. Okay. And she's like, bye, y'all. But wait, I don't know who this is. Referring to Ashley's friend Alicia. I don't know who that is. I don't know you. Okay. Now, at this point in time, Ashley's like, girl, you should never try me. You must not know who I is. Winter is like, I don't. Who are you? Alicia is like, well, who are you? Winter's like, well, who is you? Alicia's like, who are you? And so it reminded me of Sheree and Marlo down to the Africa on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, where they was doing the bird calls at each other. Y'all remember that? That's what this episode, it kind of gave me that energy. Actually, I would have just preferred it if production had a looped it again of them doing it, but then they would have been kind of doing a little bit like, a lot like the production on Potomac does. So I was like, maybe not. Maybe I might just remix it myself the next time I do an episode, and I'll do it for y'all. Okay. So anyway, Shirelle walks Winter out, and Winter says that, and that energy was so unnecessary. And I'm like, see, Winter, I mean, hey, you did kind of egg it on just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm here for it because you're gonna give us a little something, something. And so at that point, you know, Shirelle wants to bring out Ashley to see if they can have a conversation, a little ponderosa. Surprise! And so Winter asks, well, don't bring out nobody else but Ashley because I'm not trying to deal with the offensive linemen. And she is referring to Alicia as, I guess she's trying to say that Alicia is Ashley's backup doo-wop pop person, right? So Shirelle goes in to get Ashley, and Ashley is fussing the entire time. This woman has said I was not a Christian. Okay. I was like, she said me and my husband were not Christians. Don't nobody ever need to say nothing about me and my husband not being Christians, because that's a lie from the pits of the HE double hockey sticks. Okay. I don't know why this tickled me. So anyway, Ashley does not stop fussing and calling Winter fake and phony, but I still see Alicia in the doorway. You know what I'm saying? Making sure things is still going okay, because she gonna let Winter know who she is today. Meanwhile, Winter walks up to her to as Ashley is going through her diatribe. Winter rolls up and says, "Listen, girl, if you're gonna talk about me to me, okay, to me." And so they get into it about who said what about who, and the producers pull up receipts that they done both said stuff about each other. And the next thing you know, you see Arena and Alicia have all come outside, and Winter's like, I don't need an audience. And that's when she also calls her an offensive lineman in her confessional again. She didn't say it at the out loud. I wonder how that would have went. But at that point in time, um Ashley says, well, Winter, you love an audience. And then Winter says, well, Ashley, you're the star. So that made me wonder, like, at this point in time, do they know that Monique is not coming back? I'm sure they do at this point, because it's been 4 episodes at this point. So that was interesting. That was an interesting little interaction to me, because I don't know. It was just like, oh, that's interesting that they left that in there. Like, what do we make of that? What do we make of that? I will say that it did feel like the natural next person to be kind of the lead would have been Ashley, based on story, based on personality, based on the seeding from last season's reunion. So I feel like that would be the next best. I mean, the next logical person to be a lead if you're going to have one, even though it's an ensemble show. I can understand how that would work. So anyway, Winter feels like Ashley came for her first last year. They continued to spiral until Arena pulls them apart. Ashley is annoyed with herself for letting herself go there, and she's also annoyed with Shirelle, okay? Because Shirelle, girl, why would you try to convince me to talk to this girl yet again when you know I do not like her and she don't like me, okay? So Shirelle says, well, girl, listen, I'll never try to do that again, because Winter has, she's about to head on out. And Arena is also annoyed with Shirelle because, it's like, why would you do that to Ashley? Why would you try to make her have a conversation with somebody that you know she don't like? And Shirelle just says, okay, y'all, let's just move on. And everybody seems to end on a positive note. The next scene that we see is really a setup for the next episode. We have Brittany Tyler has invited over little Jamie for some charcuterie and some shrimp. And what he does not know is that she's also invited the parentals over, aka Big Jamie and Arena and Mama T, for a group ponderosa to get down to the bottom of what their issues are. Now, this conversation will be put on pause until next week. But the other brewing storyline is that Brittany's got a man at home, and everybody want to know exactly who he is. So No word on if we'll find out who this young mystery man is. But what we do know is Brittany says she does not want to be back out in the streets because them streets is filled with pee.